Hey guys, I'm the math professor Kyle Martin. In this video, we're talking all about how to multiply a fraction times another fraction, okay? Fractions are hard, I know that, but I'm gonna give you 3 examples today, and on this last one, we're gonna explain why. So if you wanna jump right to that, there's timestamps in the video description down below, but let's get into it. All right, number 1 says 5/3 times 1/6, all right? And the way you multiply fractions is you take the numerators, you multiply straight across, and then you take the denominators, the bottom numbers, and multiply straight across, and then whatever your answer is that, all right? So for example, here 5 times 1 is just 5. So our new numerator is gonna be 5, and then on the bottom, 3 times 6 is 18, okay? So it turns out that 5/3 times 1/6 is 5/18. This cannot be simplified any farther, so we have to leave it like that. That is your answer. Number 2. Number 2 says 7/6 times 4/5. All right, so same idea. Let's multiply across the top. 7 times 4 is 28. Put that down here maybe. And then on the bottom, 6 times 5 is 30. Okay? Well, this actually can be simplified a little bit more. And your teacher probably wants you to write this in its simplest form. And since these are both even numbers, I know I can at least divide the top and the bottom by 2, which means 28 divided by 2 would simplify down to be 14. 30 divided by that same number, divided by 2, can be 15. All right? And now this can no longer be simplified, so you have to leave this answer as 14/15. Okay? All right, the last one, number 3, I want to explain a little bit about why this works, why we can multiply these fractions like this, just straight across the top with the numerators, straight across the bottom with the denominators, and that numerator over the new denominator is your answer. Okay, to do this, let's maybe think about whole numbers. We know how to multiply whole numbers really well. We've been doing this since grade school, right? So let's say I had 2 times 3. Okay, and I want to represent this with blocks, okay? So let's take like a bar and cut it into blocks. So now I have 2 for this first one, 2 blocks, and then 3 is just going to get 3 blocks, okay? Well, 2, if I kind of take this one and turn it vertical instead of being horizontal like this, the 2, what if I represent it this way, where now it's 2 blocks like that, okay? And so for each block that I have, I'm going to take and multiply that for the other one. So this was, I have 1 for the top, and then I need to take this times the 3 down below like that. And then when I do that with those 3 parts, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. And so 2 times 3, of course, is 6. But that's why that works, right? You multiply and you get those 2 different sections because you're taking 2 times this 3. All right, so let's erase this maybe and think about that same idea with the fractions now. Does that still work? It should, right? Math should always work. So 1/3, instead of thinking of this as different blocks, I'm going to think of this as a fraction of a block or a part of it. 1 part of a whole of 3, of this whole cut into 3 parts. All right, so I'm going to do some shading to help us out. The shaded part is going to represent my 1/3. Okay, times, I need 1/2. Well, 1/2 is that same block, but now just cut into 2 parts, and one of those is going to be shaded. Okay, let's take that same idea and turn it vertical. Turn it vertical, and I'll maybe make this top one my colored in part. And then the other one's just going to stay the same. I want this verticalness to be the same as this, this width right here, like that. Okay, so what's happening here is when you multiply 1/3 times 1/2, if I use my rules from before, 1 times 1 on the top should be a 1, on the bottom 3 times 2 is a 6. How can I get that out of this picture? Well, what I can do is if I overlay this 1/3 on top of the shaded part, if I do that, let's maybe take away the shading, and now I'm going to overlay, I'll use some dotted lines maybe, overlay that, and now this shading would only be in this top section. Well, if I continue those dotted lines, out of that whole original part, there's only 1 out of 6 of those that are shaded in. And so that's why this works, right? Only 1 out of 6 is shaded, and so that therefore 1/6 is our answer. All right, guys, hopefully this helped you out, multiplying a fraction times a fraction. If it did, please do me a favor, give this a thumbs up, like it, subscribe, do all those things you got to do. We'll see you in the next one.